Duffy. It's Izquierdo and it's deflected in. Izquierdo's running away, taking credit for the goal, but there was at least one touch before it went past Dubravka.
When it comes to football, I like to think I'm a fairly rational sort of chap. The team wins on the weekend, happy days, you're buzzing, you're happy for the rest of the weekend. If they lose, you're like, bugger, that's a shame. And then you're angry for a couple hours, then you get over it, and then you move on, and then you go on to the next week and hope that you get a better result next time. But when you keep getting disappointed over and over and over again, that's when it starts to kind of affect you, really, and your enjoyment of the game and your enjoyment of your own team. And the result at the weekend was the last straw in many respects. So I feel like I couldn't be quiet anymore, and I had to kind of vent my frustrations at what is happening to my club, Newcastle United. 10 games we've played in total this season in League and Cup, 9 in the League, 1 in the EFL Cup, and we have not won a single game. So our record at the start of this season is played 10, won 0, drawn 2, lost 8. Now, fair enough, we've had a pretty difficult start to our season. We've had Chelsea, we've had Man United, we've had Man City. Not easy games by any stretch, but you expect to at least turn up and perform in those games, and we arguably did not. Fair enough, I think it's fair to say that luck hasn't been on our side a lot at the start of this season. The likes of the penalty that we gave away against Chelsea, which was, I think everyone could agree, even the most ardent Chelsea fan would agree that it was never a penalty. The fact that Kennedy can't score from 12 yards against Cardiff, missed that penalty. And even the game at the weekend there against Brighton, the Izquierdo goal, the Kayal goal, heavy deflection off Kayal and into the back of the net. Nothing you could really do about that. With that home defeat to Brighton, we have become only the 4th team in history to lose our opening 5 games at home. The other 3 teams that this happened to, well, they were relegated, so that doesn't exactly bode well for us. So what is the problem at Newcastle United? Well, there's I think we all know what the main one is, and it's the man who owns the club, of course, Mike Ashley. The main criticism thrown at Mike Ashley is, from a purely footballing perspective, is his unwillingness to put his hand in his pocket and to spend money in the transfer windows. Now that's all well and good, everyone wants their club to be financially stable, but this has been happening for the last 11 years, where plenty of money's been coming into the club through player sales and television revenue and season tickets and sponsorship. Where is all this money going? There's so much money in the Premier League these days, it's imperative that you stay in the league first and foremost so you can reap the benefits of that. But there's so much money kicking around though that surely we have to see some of it in our transfer dealings to bring in a higher quality player so we can stay in the league to continue to reap the rewards of being a Premier League side. Now, I will admit when Mike Ashley came in there was an air of optimism around the club. He seemed to be a proper football fan who loved the club. He was out with the fans every week, he was drinking with the fans, he was essentially, he felt like one of us. And I think that we embraced him, to be honest, when he first came in. And then since then he's shown his true colours, and they are not black and white, they are green. So on the subject of his unwillingness to spend money, he's owned the club for 11 years now, and in that 11 years his total transfer spend has been £390 million, which sounds like a lot when you just take it as it is, but then you realise that he's recouped from player sales £322 million. Now don't get me wrong, the last season that we were relegated we spent nearly £100 million, so he did put his hand in his pocket and he did splash the cash. The fans wanted him to put his hand in his pocket, spend some money, he did, fair enough to him, but it was the quality of player that we brought in with that money. It just shows that if you spend money for the sake of spending money, it's not really going to get you anywhere. You have to make sure you're bringing in the best quality that you can for what you're paying for it. And in that instance, that falls on the coaching staff, that falls on the director of football, that falls on the scouting network. They, I think, should be held accountable for the lack of quality that they brought in with that money. Even in the Championship, £56 million was spent. So there was at least an element of ambition to get us back up into the Premier League. And in that Championship season, we struggled to win it. We were obviously always going to get automatically promoted back to the Premier League. But the fact that we struggled so much to win it, it took us to the last day and for another team's result to give us the title. I think that says an awful lot of where the squad is right now. Just as we're on the subject of the scouting network and the director of football, it's not just now with the poor quality of player that we've brought in for this squad that we have right at this point in time, but look at the likes of Cisco and Ignacio Gonzalez, lads who were signed by Dennis Wise from watching YouTube clips. That's ridiculous. That's unfeasible. That a football club, a professional football club, that is how they would go about recruiting players. I don't mean to single those two lads out. There have been many players who have been as bad, if not worse, that we've brought in to don the famous black and white shirt over the years. But those two just really stand out as the kind of absolute madness that was our transfer policy, and to an extent it still sort of is. This current squad that we have is a Championship level squad. I think any Newcastle fan would turn around and say to you, this squad is not good enough. The level of talent that this squad has, it's nowhere near where it should be for us to be able to stay in the Premier League. Fair enough, we did finish 10th last year with a similar squad, but you know, even the worst golfer has the capacity to score a hole-in-one. Would be my kind of rationale for that. I mean, yeah, we did finish 10th. We massively overperformed. But just because we did it once doesn't mean that we're equipped to do it again and again and again. I mean, there's only so much that this limited squad can do with the ability that's on offer. That sounds incredibly harsh. It's in no position. I'm in no position to comment on any professional footballer's lack of ability or perceived lack of ability. But I think everyone at the club and every Newcastle fan would be of the opinion that the squad is it's nowhere near good enough. There's no standout players. There's no player in that squad where any top 6 club's going to look at us and go, oh, I'll take him or I'll take him. It's just not. It's a harsh truth, but it's a fact, to quote Rafa Benitez. I think it says an awful lot that a team like Spurs, who didn't spend a single penny in the summer transfer window, have a significantly better squad than a team that spent, admittedly, not an awful lot of money, but spent money in a transfer window, and they are far and away superior to us in terms of squad depth and ability and general star quality all over the pitch. So of course the players need to shoulder some of the burden as well, because as soon as they cross that white line, it's up to them. It's up to them to perform. It's up to them to score the goals, and it's up to them to really put a shift in. Not to say that they don't put a shift in. I just feel like it's not everything can be laid at Mike Ashley's feet, as much as I would like it to. I have to try and remain sort of diplomatic in this whole thing. But the players are the ones at the end of the day, for those 90 minutes, are on the pitch. It's up to them to make the difference, and they just haven't. As much as I don't want to dig out Rafa Benitez, maybe it's something to do with him as well. Maybe it's a stubbornness to change the way he plays. Maybe it's just he's trying to do too much with too little, essentially. But a man with his experience, a Champions League winner, he's managed at the highest possible level of club football. We're incredibly lucky to have him, and he was incredibly loyal to stay with us in the Championship. But I feel like he was fed up at the start of the season, and that he'll stay till the end of the season and leave. And as he should. What reason has he to stay if this is how the club is going to be continued to run? Especially when he was promised funding, he was promised the backing, and he got none of it. But I feel like a man like Benitez, who's as respected in the game as he is, I feel like any player would be happy to play under him, a man of his experience and a man who can really teach this squad how to be better, how to be more tactically astute. But perhaps it's just not working out as well as he'd hoped. But back to Mike Ashley, who is the main crux of why why a lot of people think that we're doing so badly and have been vastly underperforming and underachieving for the past 11 years. But I just wanted to, to make everyone aware that it's not, as much as I would like to just solely blame it on Ashley, it's not just him, it's mainly him. But the players have to be told that they haven't been, good enough, or the scouting and the director of football, they need to be told that they aren't good enough, they're not qualified enough to bring in the players that we need. And to be, maybe even Rafa Benitez, he needs to be told that he maybe needs to change things. But that's by the by. Mike Ashley, we're coming back to you, because not only has Mike Ashley not funded the club as much as he probably should have, it's just little things as well that have really just hugely soured his relationship with the Newcastle United fans. For example, wanting to change the name of St James's Park to the Sports Direct Arena. Christ alive. That stadium has been named St James's Park long before you arrived, sir, and it will be called St James's Park long after you eventually leave. I mean, he gets free advertising every week. The name is plastered all over the stadium. You can't move for seeing Sports Direct all over the stadium and inside the stadium. So what were you hoping to achieve by that? All you were going to do was just piss off a whole city full of passionate football fans. And speaking of Sports Direct, well, we all know the stories that have come out about the conditions of working for Sports Direct, how the employees are treated, but that's a whole different story. We'll not get into that at the minute, because liable is a thing, and I don't want to get involved in any of that. As well as that, bringing in, like, when he first arrived, he brought Kevin Keegan back to the club to manage. That was a move that really ingratiated himself to the Newcastle faithful. The King has returned. Fantastic stuff. Then Keegan left due to falling out with the board. And then since then, we've had the likes of McLaren in the dugout. We've had the likes of Carver. John Carver, not even a manager. He's a bloody first-team coach. Alan Pardew was there for a while, and bloody Joe Kinnear. Like, I mean, Rafa Benitez, Joe Kinnear. I mean, players want to play for a man who's won the Champions League. Nobody wants to play for a guy who can't even get your bloody name right. In those 11 years as well, since Mike Ashley's bought the club, we have had 3 top half finishes. 3. And 2 relegations. And if we don't buck our ideas up, it's going to be 3. I remember growing up when we were challenging for Europe, when we were challenging for titles, we were in European football. Now we'll be lucky if we're in the Premier League at all. So there you go, that is my opinions on the current state of Newcastle United. And I realise it's gonna, I'll just be one of the many voices shouting into the void at this stage. But whenever it's your club, you tend to, the passion is there more so than it would be for any other club. Especially a club like Newcastle. It's a special football club. There's a real, when you go to the city, there's a love, and the stadium, Newcastle United, is the heartbeat of that town. On match days, it's like a religious experience almost, when people are, you're walking down that main street, you take a swift right, you look up, and there it is. It just dominates the skyline, and it's like going to church every Sunday. Not that I go to church every Sunday. I mean, you walk in that stadium, 56,000 through the turnstiles every single week. You see lads who've supported that club for 50, 60 years. You see generations of the same family. You see the grandparents, their sons, and then their grandson coming to their first game together. It's a special place, and the St James's Park is a special stadium, and it's heartbreaking to know that this is what's happening to your club from a guy who couldn't care less. He just sees it as a business opportunity to line his own pockets and to make money, and has no love for the club and no respect for the tradition of the club or the people who support that club and who've been loyal to that club and who love that club. Now, don't get me wrong, there are obviously clubs that have been run significantly worse than what we are at the minute, the likes of Portsmouth, Leyton Orient, Blackpool, Blackburn. And I have the greatest sympathy for you now, as I now completely understand the kind of misery and the heartbreak that you've gone through watching your clubs collapse, essentially, due to greed and people who just didn't care, and people who thought that they could make money off your love for something, and it's hard to watch, you know. It's hard to watch. But that is it for this video. Let me know in the comment section below your opinions. Are you a Newcastle United fan? What do you think is to blame for the way that Newcastle United, the state of Newcastle United at current? I mean, I can probably guess, but just in case there's something I've missed. If you're not a Newcastle United fan, if you support any other club, what do you think about this? Do you think it's unfair? Do you think we don't deserve it? Or do you think we're getting our just desserts? Or do you think that it's, are you not really bothered? Would you be happy to see us out of the league? But that is it, like I said, for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy it, do hit that like button. That would help us out greatly. Do hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit the bell icon so you're notified when we make new videos. So once again, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.